This week's episode is brought to you by the Wetaskiwin Arts and Music Festival Committee, Delcon Visual Arts, and Warren's Music. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the Wetaskiwin WonkCast, here's how. Go to our website at delconvisualarts.com/WonkCast and send us a message there, or you can find us on Facebook at Wetaskiwin WonkCast, and you can send us a message there too. Welcome to episode 7 of the Wetaskiwin WonkCast. Today we're doing a little bit different. It's going to be just Justin and myself again, but we're going to talk about what's coming up in our quaint little city, and then we're going to do a little interview with Justin, because as far as him and I are both concerned, comedy is an art form as well.
Absolutely. If you remember back to the first episode, that's kind of how we kicked off the first episode, was just kind of the both of us talking and discussing things. So we're going to do that for this week, and then next week we'll be back with our regular guest format of the show.
Yeah, and as not without giving anything away, we have a quite talented musician coming in. And we're pretty sure you're going to like that, so you're going to want to check back for sure.
Got long hair, and he owns a lot of sleeveless shirts. So.
Must be a rock star.
Must be.
So what we're looking through right now is actually called the Spring and Summer Programs for Wetaskiwin. And the first thing that jumps out at me here is I see a pottery for kids. It's a homeschool program. And if it's got to do with the kids, I'm all for it. I mean, man, we got to get them involved in the arts, and whether it be play or painting or music, whatever. Do that. That's going to be happening on April 10th to May 15th.
On Wednesdays, yes.
On Wednesdays. We won't mention fees. We'll let you figure that out for yourself. But you can go to www.waacc.ca.
Very cool idea to do with the kids.
Yeah, what do you got over there, Justin?
We got some kids painting pottery on April PD Day. It's April 20th from 1 to 5 at the Wetaskiwin Arts and Crafts Center, which is on 48th Avenue. So you can do 2 projects that day. You can complete a canvas of a vibrant butterfly and kindness rocks. So that'll be a nice little take-home souvenir you can give to your parents or to your aunties or uncles or grandpa and grandma.
And another thing here, we've got adult beginner acting classes. So if you ever wanted to try your hat at try your hand, I guess I need it, at acting, here's your chance. This is done at the Manluck Theatre, and the date and times are to be announced. But if you go to their website, there is an update there frequently on when these classes happen. You can go to manlucktheatre.com. Just check out the links there. What else do we have, Justin?
We got lots of great stuff coming up. One thing that I like that kind of caught my eye here is drama classes for kids summer camp. So this is for kids between 17 to 13 for them to gain acting skills, confidence, and public speaking ability through games. This goes, I believe, July 2nd to 6th from 10 to 3 at Sacred Heart School. So that'll be a really fun thing if you want to get your child into some acting or to some public speaking classes. It's for 12 years and up.
Awesome. Looks like June 21st is National Indigenous Peoples Day. That's going to be really interesting. I'm going to be breaking up my camera for this is for sure.
They'll definitely do something at the new Jubilee Park for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
We don't have anything listed at the time, but as things come to rise, we'll definitely let you know so you can gather some friends and family and go attend that. Always an outdoor event, which makes it good. Hopefully it's nice that day.
And we've got a full-page ad here from the Wetaskiwin Arts and Music Festival. It's a go for sure. It's at Violet Lake Park, June 23rd, 2018, from 9:30 in the morning till 9 at night or somewhere around there. And there's going to be so much to do. I'm actually on the committee, or a member of the committee, and there's going to be live art demonstrations, live dances, live music, I'm hoping maybe they'll get the Taekwondo guys back.
That would be cool.
There's going to be great food, and you know what? This doesn't cost you anything.
No, it's free to attend for everybody. So no cover. You can bring your whole family down and enjoy a whole great afternoon of music, of art, of dance, of food, of just everything that contains art. You can enjoy on that day. And
if you want to be a part of it, just go to the Wetaskiwin Arts and Music Festival Facebook page. Leave them a message stating that you're interested in being in it, and I think the cost for entry is $10. So, I mean, where are you going to go for $10 to display your art or show your music or anything like that? So, that's a really killer deal for sure. So, again, this is just a few things going on in the city this summer. I mean, there's going to be more popping up from time to time, but, you know, it's Facebook land. Get out there and check your feeds and subscribe and do what you got to do. And like Justin said, this was what did you call that? The old
community calendar. What you hear on AM radio at about 6:30 in the morning.
So this isn't costing anybody anything. We're just doing this because we love our city, and we want people to know what's going on.
Definitely, and it's also for all those people who say, you know, what really is there to do in this town? There's tons. There's probably this magazine has 30-some pages of different events and everything to do, family friendly. So you can bring the kids, you can bring everybody around. There's just so much to do in here at all different venues throughout town. You don't even have to leave town if you want to go and do something very cool. One of the things I'm looking at here that's also very cool, of course, Canada Day is coming up. We got some Canada Day celebrations going on. Dale's a part of that, I believe.
Yeah, we are. Our band Dead End Drive is going to be the musical act for the day out at Reynolds Museum. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, and this is very cool. Outdoor movies. They started doing this, I believe, a couple of years back here in town. There's one going on June 23rd of this year, and it's at the Diamond Jubilee Park. And the film is Only the Brave, which is rated PG, and movie begins at 10 o'clock. That's at Jubilee Park. So admission's $2 per person, so you can go attend a great outdoor movie, which I think will be good with the new gazebo they got put there. How do you call that? Gazebo or what's the proper term? Yeah. I try to sound more educated than I am, but I think gazebo is what you put in your backyard. I'm not too sure, but outdoor stage is where that's taking place.
Yeah. And not to give anything away, but I was at a meeting yesterday, but there's something coming up at the library. And we're shooting for September, and it's going to be classic. It's going to be an invite-only event, but when this happens and after it happens, I'll give you guys an update on how well it went, because judging by the people we know that are going to be there and some of the artists as well, it's going to be a really great event. It's kind of like a fundraiser for the library, among other things, and we're hoping to partner up with some other people, possibly. But again, stay tuned. But for now, I think unless you got something else over there.
Just one thing I want to mention. We're talking about art and we talked about food a little bit, but there's an event here. We got Kids in the Kitchen. This is for ages 8 to 12. Grab an apron and meet us in the kitchen. Learn how to cook your own delicious creations, plus enjoy a few extra ingredients like field trips to spice the week up. Now, this is taking place at the Memorial Arts Center on July 23rd to the 27th from 9 to 4. So if you want to get your kids in some culinary arts, you should definitely check that event out so they can help out cooking at home and wow you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Kids should learn to fend for themselves, shouldn't they?
Yes. They should.
No, there's nothing wrong. I mean, they could be the next Gordon Ramsay, who knows, right? Or Rachel Ray.
That's true.
That's awesome.
Just hopefully not Guy Fieri. We don't need another one of those kicking around, in my opinion.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, that's...
So now we're going to move on to something, like I said, Justin and I are both pretty adamant about comedy.
Yes.
Comedy is, to me and Justin, an art form. And I dare any of you listeners, unless you've done it already, to get up there in front of an audience and try and make them laugh.
Absolutely. Public speaking, they say, is the number one fear in the world.
It is, yeah. I remember I used to... I'm pretty much over it now because of playing in the band and everything, but I remember when I used to have to stand up in school.
Yeah.
Or in front of their...
Yeah, when you have to get up and make the presentation at the whiteboard and you get that chill in your stomach, that feeling. So
yeah, that was terrifying.
It was.
You're literally standing there shaking, at least some of us. Some of you are probably better at it than the rest of us, but... Anyway, comedy. I mean, there's so many good ones out there, and there's a lot of stinkers, but we'll focus on the good.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes it art, because there's different elements of art, and different things are good to different people.
Yeah.
And what might be considered bad to some is good to some, and what might be good to some, we've definitely seen in some instances that it's been not so good to others.
Yeah, and comedy can also be a good advocate for politics too. I hate to say
definitely,
that, but
yes, it's
given our Trump and Trudeau leadership lately, it's been nothing but an open book for comedians, and they're just writing the material for them, basically.
Yeah, it's recession-proof, essentially, is what comedy is, because you're always going to have something to write about with elections and everything going on, and.
I mean, what comes to mind right now is a guy named Lewis Black. I don't know if any of you out there know who he is, or if you do, then you know what I'm going to be talking about. I mean, he's incredibly funny. Sounds like an old, mean, crotchety old...
Your old grumpy uncle.
There you
That
go.
would definitely ruin the family get-togethers with his lectures about what's going on in the world. And
Yeah. He's definitely a guy I'd like to have as an uncle. He's funny as hell.
Oh, yeah. Sit around the table and listen to him.
But as far as your inspirations, is there one guy or girl, or was there just along the way a bunch of people that kind of made you go, yeah, I want to do this? I know we probably covered this in the last topic. But
I had to change my inspirations because of things they did in their public life or private life or whatever through the last case. So my inspiration from old times, which I'm not going to mention now, just because of the controversy behind it. But I would say probably one of my inspirations when I was younger was definitely guys like Jeff Foxworthy, Larry the Cable Guy, the whole kind of blue collar comedy tour. I was, an immature 14, 15-year-old kid when that kind of stuff came out. So I really appreciated, So I really appreciated that kind of comedy, and it tended to stick with me. Guys like that, Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh yeah,
has to be probably my all-time favorite.
Good choice.
And guys like Sam Kinison, who's a little bit raunchier, and Andrew Dice Clay, and there's so many from the older days that not a lot of the newer kind of people know of and haven't heard of. You mention Lenny Bruce to anybody from this millennial area, and they'll say, well, who's that? And he was probably the first controversial comic in the 1930s that really started the whole
one of the greatest ever.
Yeah, started the whole war on free speech.
And guys like Seinfeld, people looked up to him like. I mean, that's where they got a lot of their chops from, too.
Absolutely, yeah. Seinfeld was another big one. Not so much for me, just because I think his material is attributed to his voice. Definitely. I think really if any other comic kind of tried that material, it wouldn't work as much.
Yeah, he's got that nasally, almost whiny voice. Sorry for those of you that like him, but it's true.
What's the deal with airplane food? Yeah. The airplane doesn't eat it. Why do we have to? So, stuff like that, which is horrible. That's not a direct reference from Seinfeld, but...
Oh, that's the route he would go.
Yeah, for sure.
So, do you have any inspirations of getting on the big stage? The Cody fingers going up, right? I got another question for you. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah, for sure.
So, go ahead.
For big stage-wise, I love... the smaller stage.
Yeah.
I love the clubs.
More intimate.
Yeah. where you can smell the kitchen while you're on stage. That's always the best. And when the waitress walks directly by you and you're doing your show and you can hear her taking the front row table's order, that to me is what makes comedy. When you can hear all the little things, you can hear the bathroom door upstairs close and shut, and you can hear people coming out, or you can just all the sounds that would make a comedy show. I love arena comedy. I love attending arena comedy. I've seen some comics come out and do the arena circuit. But for me, I think comedy's meant to be in the dark back room, kind of clubs, late at night, 10 o'clock shows, and
where you can maybe get away with a little bit more.
The theaters is nice too.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of theaters, and the theaters are always great because they're there to listen to comedy. Sometimes at the clubs, they're chatting amongst themselves or whatever. If there's a bachelorette party there, or that's
not really
always
paying attention.
But probably the clubs and theaters would be most kind of my inspiration for getting up there and doing something on a stage.
Now, do you consider yourself controversial at all, or are you just kind of...
You'll have to take a survey. Some people seem to think so. Some other people don't. I think it all depends on what kind of mood I'm feeling.
Yeah,
sometimes if it's before the show, if I'm kind of feeling something in life, I'll tend to talk about it a little bit, and I'll tend to discuss that subject. And sometimes it might be controversial. Or if I'm really happy before the show, then it's kind of it changes and
a little more bubblier.
Yeah, a little more bubblier. So you can definitely kind of see the difference. But as a whole, I wouldn't consider myself controversial.
This is a tough topic for, I would assume, anybody, because I love watching comedy and I love listening to it, but get right into it and just get into the mind of a comedian, which is probably next to impossible anyway, because...
you have to be miserable, I think. Just talking to comedians, when you talk to them outside of... unless it's a really successful comic that's happy and who's done well, normal comedians are, they're all going through stuff in their life, and they're all kind of, have something wrong with either relationships or family, and that's what kind of turns them to comedy. So I think all comics kind of have that switch that goes kind of on and off. They know when they're on stage, they can differentiate between that. So
since I'm unable to remember what I was going to say or ask you, have you ever worked with a group or a duo or a trio or whatever? As you like in routines, you have
like for comedy wise, like improv.
No, like improv. Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
No. For me, I like stand-up.
Yeah.
Because of the crowd reaction and everything. Improv is great. That's how a lot of comedians start. But I've never found myself to be talented at improv. It used to be part of like drama class and everything when I was in school. And I loved Whose Line Is It Anyway growing up, as I think anybody did. But for me, it was I don't want to say it was the hack thing to do. Right. To kind of get into improv, but it was one of those things that...
Just not your thing?
Yeah, just not my thing. No. Yeah. I love it. I love watching it, but I couldn't be...
Oh, you got to be really quick. Amongst my favorites is Colin Lockery, of course. Almost all those people I have on that show. My favorite episode was the one with Robin Williams on it.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, great episode.
No improv, no working with other people. So it's more of a mindset. You kind of like pre-plan your show.
Generally, yeah. If I know what I'm doing, but things can change so abruptly. You could go on stage and have everything completely planned, but then with the crowd being there or something, it could totally change. I remember one night, I forget where I was doing a show. I think I was doing a show in Millet or something at their comedy night, and I had a whole set planned. Probably a whole 25-minute set planned, which is a standard opening set. And I didn't do 1 minute of it because I spent the whole show just talking to the crowd. Because they were so good and we were just feeding off each other, and things would come to my mind. I would talk to them, and I just talked to the crowd the whole show. And I still have it. I still have it recorded on my phone, and it was great. It was an amazing conversation, and it was funny. But I didn't do 1 minute of the jokes I had planned for that night.
There you go. You have done improv.
Yeah, technically. just not with the group and the four chairs. You know.
You were mentioning that comedy's bigger in the U.S. and Europe than it is here in Canada. What do you think that is? Just a mindset of the people, or
just
better venues, or
just what goes on. I think, like, with what goes on in the States and with what goes on in Europe, you know, they have a lot to talk about. We in Canada, we can talk about America, or we could talk about Europe, but we only really have Tim Hortons and Trudeau to go on. So
at this time,
at this time. So that's why you hear a lot of the Canadian comics reference the America or anything out of that, because we're generally a pretty straightforward country sometimes.
Like your late night talk show host, Stephen Colbert. I think he's probably the number one guy right now, as far as I'm concerned. Quick-witted.
Very quick-witted.
Right on top of everything.
And with those shows, because they're generally filmed live, you don't have a lot of time to break in between them to think about something. So you have to think on your feet a lot of the time, you know, because you go to something and then it's like, all right, we're back, and you get right into the next
he's
topic.
So comfortable doing it. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Jay Leno due to that fact that he's so comfortable in front of the camera, and you know, no matter what's said to him, he's going to reply back, right? So
he's definitely fit for that position.
So you got a couple of friends that you hang out with that are comedians, and Corey, and so you guys going to be doing any touring together, or got anything coming up? We should get Corey in here too.
Yeah, we can get him in here for sure. We don't really have anything coming up. We travel a lot together still. We travel the world together. We go to Vegas together and kind of hang out. And Corey does some shows down there. He gets some open mics down there in Vegas. I don't really, just because that's my vacation time. So I like to put the old feet up and you know, not do anything. But no, we've done several shows together, and he's been on his own tours now, kind of with opening for people in Grand Prairie and in Fort Mac and stuff like that, which is how I kind of started out. Generally, in comedy, you don't, unless you're the headliner, you don't really pick your tour companions.
Right.
You know, so if you're the opener, you just say, hey, you know, the manager or whatever says, hey, go here to the hotel or whatever and meet Tony or something at 10 o'clock, and you guys are going to Fort Mac tonight together or something, and you've never met in your life, so you don't know if you're good along or not, and you got a 6-hour car ride with them, so you better get along. So yeah, that's the only thing, is you don't really get to pick your companions. But on the shows I've done together with Corey, like the shows where I headline or where he headlines, it's good because we know each other's stuff, and we can get along, and we can kind of we can talk about comedy before and after, and do those kind of shows. So that's always a blessing. But I don't share a room with him when I go on vacation. So nice guy, but I don't share a room with him.
So do you poke jabs at each other in your set?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You got to. For sure.
As a comedian standing on stage, what is the funniest thing you've seen happen in the crowd?
The funniest thing I've seen happen in the crowd. This is in Lac La Biche, Alberta. I don't know. It was funny to me. It might not be funny to to other people, but this group of guys, super nice guys, kept sending us up shots all night. There were some rig workers or something, and so they liked our set, so they kept sending us us shots, and in the middle of the jokes they would shout out for us to do a shot with them. So we'd do a shot with them and everything, but apparently that angered some other people that were at the show because they thought they were heckling. So we did the show, it was good, and then about 3 months later, the table of the guys that were angered by it, one of the guys saw me at a concert in Edmonton or something and recognized me. He's like, hey, you were that comedian in Lac La Biche. I was like, yeah. He's like, you remember those guys that were heckling you that night, right? Okay. He's like, yeah, we beat the hell out of them after the show. I was like, oh, God. I didn't condone that. I had no idea about that. But yeah, that's, good old small town Alberta shows. I think that was at the Lac La Biche Inn many years back.
Well, if you're looking for action, you know where to go. Right?
That's right, yeah.
So that I was gonna ask you what was probably the worst thing you had seen, but that might take the cake.
I don't.
Not the worst thing you've seen. What's the worst thing that's happened to you?
The worst thing that's happened to me on stage, probably with bar shows. Sometimes you do bar shows and it's like where they have the open floor and they don't have a stage. Oh, yeah. So just anybody can kind of walk up. So, one time these girls came and walked up and they wanted to, I don't know, sing karaoke or something. So they were trying to keep grabbing the mic the whole show. And for the whole 45, drunk girls. And so, you got a 45-minute set to do and you're trying to burn through that. And so that's that was probably the worst thing. It hasn't really been that bad. I mean, there's a lot of comics with a lot worse experiences getting chicken wings thrown at them and stuff. But generally, I tend to pick material that doesn't anger people, or that I might get along with people. So it hasn't been too bad. So
not a lot of heckling going on, or how do you handle hecklers?
Not really. I haven't really had any hecklers. Sometimes I would get people that come to the show that knew my jokes that would shout out for jokes they wanted to hear.
Oh, okay.
But unless it's another comic, what I call the comedy heckle, when another comic laughs at you, that's not a good thing.
Oh, okay.
So when you're on stage, when you're doing your material and the crowd isn't laughing, but you hear the comics in the back laughing, that's not a good sign. So that's like the comedy heckle. And there used to be this comedian in Edmonton, I won't say his name, but he had a very unique and particular laugh. Yeah. So once you heard that laugh, you knew who it was right away that was laughing at you. Yeah. And you could hear it stone cold in a dead room.
So it's probably your cue to get off stage.
That's generally your cue to wrap it up and get a new punchline or something. So,
well, that's when you got to follow him around and start doing the same thing.
We do that to a lot of each other, and sometimes we'd have like fun little games. Like I know one night a bunch of comics. I wasn't on this show, but I was just watching it. One of the comics would go up, and then another comic, while he was doing the joke, would shout out, "Hey, that's my joke!" And then so he'd run up on stage and tell his version of the joke, and another comic from the crowd would yell out, "Hey, no, that's my joke!" And I kept going with that for like 5 or 6 comics, and the crowd loved it. So. The best thing we did one time was on Halloween. The comic who was hosting the show we were on said, "I want you guys to go up, but I want you to do 5 minutes of other comics material that you like." Or something. So it could be anybody. It could be a big comic or it could be a comic from here in town. So we're like, okay, great. So we all, the crowd that was there were like regulars, so that a lot of them knew us. So we would go up and we'd do other comic stuff just for one night. And it was like the greatest thing.
It's kind of like a cover band playing.
It was, it was. But I thought it was rather interesting. Just knowing another comic stuff and going up there and doing it, and their material doesn't fit you at all.
Yeah.
But you go up and you still do it, and it was a pretty good experience.
So seeing a comedian live, I mean, you can listen to them and you can get the little nuances in the voice and the changing of the voice to fit the joke, but to see a comedian live, you get to see the facial expressions, the body expressions, and to me, a lot of that makes the joke.
It does. Yeah.
For example, again, I'm going to use Lewis Black. I mean, the guy, he's got that shaky hand.
Yes.
And he'll look at you in a certain way, or he'll scream something at the crowd or whatever. It's just the look on his face. So
that's what makes it unique, and that's what makes it to them. Yeah, like Rodney Dangerfield with the tie. Always loosening the tie and stuff was a big one.
Johnny Carson was actually pretty good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, sir, Johnny. Well, now that we beat that subject to death, I think it's time to give a shout out to our sponsors. We got Wetaskiwin Arts and Music Festival Committee, Warren's Music, and Dalcon Visual Arts. Next week, we've got planned or scheduled to have a very talented musician. You're going to tune in for this one for sure. And if anybody wants to become a sponsor, please drop us a line. You know where to find us now on Facebook and on our website. Send us an email. You got anything else to add, Justin, before we go? Or
not really. Just thank you everybody for listening. Our listeners keep going up every week, and we really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to our conversations every week. So. Yeah,
it's amazing how iTunes can really help spread the word, because I mean we've got all over the world where I never expected to.
Absolutely. So if you're listening,
Germany, Russia, Romania.
Everywhere.
No.
Millet.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the show and you want to shout out somebody, let us know and we might throw it in the show somehow. If you have a birthday or something coming up for a friend who listens to the show, or a congratulatory, obligatory wedding shout out to make your fiance feel good, or anything like that, drop us a line and we'll throw it in the show for you.
Yeah, and especially if you're a local, definitely. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, thanks to all our listeners and our sponsors, and everybody have a great day. Say good night, Justin.
Good night.